911. What's your emergency?
Someone's in my house. I can hear them upstairs.
Hello? Sir, are you still there?
At 2:13 a.m., the call ended abruptly. Officers arrived 6 minutes later. The front door was locked, but inside, something didn't add up. Dispatch logs confirmed the caller identified himself as Daniel Hargrove. Address matched a 2-story home at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac. No prior incidents, no alarms triggered, no neighbors reported disturbances. Bodycam footage starts at 2:19 a.m. Officer Reyes approaches the front door first, knocks, announces presence. No response. Officer Malik checks the perimeter. Windows intact. No signs of forced entry. Reyes tries the door handle. It doesn't move. Locked, he says. Malik circles back. We breach? Reyes hesitates. Caller said someone's inside. They force the door. It gives with a crack. The interior is dark. No lights on. Flashlights sweep across the entryway. Clean. No signs of struggle. And a phone sits on a hallway table. Screen black. Malik steps closer. That his? Reyes nods. Has to be. He picks it up. Battery still warm. Dispatch, we're inside. No visual on occupant. Static. Then, copy. Proceed with caution. They move deeper. Living room empty. Kitchen. Chairs pushed in. Dishes dry. Nothing disturbed. No sound. Then, a faint creak. Upstairs. Both officers stop. Reyes looks up. You hear that? Malik nods slowly. Another creak, like weight shifting across old wood. Police! Reyes calls out. Come downstairs! Silence. Then a soft thump, directly above them. They move to the staircase. Each step groans under their weight. Flashlights cut through the dark hallway above. 3 doors, all closed. Malik gestures left. Reyes nods. They approach the first door. Reyes pushes it open. Bathroom, empty. Second door. Bedroom. A bed made. Closet shut. Reyes opens it. Nothing inside. Then the third door. At the end of the hall. Slightly different. The handle scratched. Like something had been trying to grip it. Malik whispers, You see that? Reyes nods. He reaches for the handle. It's cold. Colder than anything else in the house. He turns it slowly. The door creaks open. Flashlights sweep inside. Small room, bare, no furniture, no windows, but on the floor, a man, lying on his back, eyes open, not moving. Sir? Malik steps forward. No response. Reyes kneels beside him, checks pulse. Nothing. Malik scans the room again. Where's the second person? Reyes frowns. What second? The caller said someone was in the house. They both go still. Reyes looks down at the body. Dispatch. We've got one unresponsive male. No sign of additional suspects. Static. And then, confirm identity. Reyes reaches into the man's pocket, finds a wallet, pulls out an ID, shines the light on it. His hand freezes. Malik notices. What is it? Reyes doesn't answer. He just turns the ID toward him. Name, Daniel Hargrove. Malik exhales slowly. Caller's the victim. Reyes nods, but his expression doesn't settle. Then who made the call? Malik asks. Before Reyes can answer, the radio crackles, but it's not dispatch. It's the same voice from the 911 call. Heavy breathing. He's still upstairs. Both officers snap their heads toward the hallway. The voice continues, not from the radio, from just outside the room. I can hear him moving. Reyes lunges for the door, swings it open. The hallway is empty. Malik steps out behind him. Did you? A loud thud from inside the room. They turn. The body is gone, and the floor is empty. Only the ID remains, and something else, scratched into the wooden floor. Fresh, deep, words. Reyes lowers his light, reads it aloud. "You let me in." The radio crackles again. Dispatch, calm and distant. "Units, be advised. We just received another 911 call from that address." Reyes grips the radio. "That's not possible. We're already—" The voice cuts in, heavy breathing. "Someone's in my house. I can hear them upstairs." This time, it's not coming from the radio. It's coming from below them, from the first floor, right where they entered. Malik whispers, "We cleared that." Another creak, slow, deliberate, on the staircase. Something is coming up, and it knows their voices. Dispatch flagged the call as high priority, but nothing about the address suggested danger. Late fall, November 18th, 2:13 a.m. And the house sat at the edge of a quiet suburban stretch just outside a mid-sized U.S. town, rows of nearly identical homes, spaced evenly, each with trimmed lawns now coated in dry leaves. No wind, no rain, no movement anywhere on the street. The caller, Daniel Hargrove, male, 36, lived alone, no prior police reports, no disturbances, no record of complaints, disputes, or emergency calls. Neighbors described him as quiet, routine, kept to himself, the kind of resident dispatch systems rarely flag. Yet the call came through marked urgent, breathing irregular, voice strained, clear statement. "Someone's in my house." No background noise during the call, no signs of forced entry reported. Just that one detail. "I can hear them upstairs." Then the thud. Then silence. Responding officers noted something immediately upon arrival, and the street was still, not just quiet, still. No porch lights flicking on, no dogs barking, no curtains shifting. Officer Reyes later stated, "It felt like the whole block was asleep at the same time. Not one house reacted." The Hargrove residence sat at the very end of the cul-de-sac. Single-family home, 2 floors, built approximately 12 years prior. Exterior observations, no damage to doors or windows, no vehicle in the driveway, porch light-off mailbox closed, no overflow, no surveillance cameras visible. Interior layout, based on later walkthrough documentation. Ground floor, entry hallway, leading to a living room. Kitchen adjacent, partially visible from entry staircase along the right wall, leading up small utility closet beneath the stairs. Second floor, narrow hallway. 3 rooms, bathroom, bedroom, and a smaller third room at the end. No attic access, no secondary exit. Everything about the property suggested control, order, routine, no sign of interruption. The phone recovered inside the house, believed to be the caller's, showed a completed outgoing call to emergency services at exactly 2:12:47 a.m. Duration, 16 seconds. Audio review confirmed. No overlapping voices, no external interference, only the caller and the dispatcher. But one detail stood out during playback analysis. Right before the thud, there was a sound beneath the caller's voice, not loud, not clear, but present. A second set of breathing, slightly out of sync. Dispatch logs did not flag it in real time, but enhanced audio later confirmed it. 2 distinct inhalations, one belonged to the caller, the other did not match his rhythm. No neighbors reported seeing anyone enter or exit the property. No vehicles passed through the street during the recorded time window. Traffic cameras at the nearest intersection, 3 blocks away, showed no movement between 2:05 a.m. and 2:25 a.m. There were no footprints outside the house, not in the front yard, not in the backyard. Dry leaves covered the ground uniformly, undisturbed, which raised a single immediate question. If someone was inside the house, they hadn't come from outside, and they hadn't left. Inside, officers documented no signs of forced entry, locks intact, windows sealed, no broken glass, no displaced objects. The thermostat was set to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Indoor temperature stable. No fluctuations recorded by the system. But one inconsistency appeared in the report. And the small room at the end of the upstairs hallway had no registered purpose in the house blueprint. Original plans listed it as storage, but there were no shelves, no boxes, no fixtures, just an empty space. And according to the responding officers, the temperature inside that room was noticeably lower than the rest of the house. Not extreme, but enough to be felt immediately upon entry. Reyes described it as like stepping into a place that hadn't been used in a long time, even though everything else in the house was current. No explanation was recorded for that difference. No ventilation issue, no open windows, no structural irregularities. Just a room that didn't match the rest of the house, and a call that ended too soon. Because by the time officers arrived, Daniel Hargrove was already inside that room, waiting, placed there, and whatever he heard upstairs was never identified. Dispatch log details. The original report was amended after a full system review. Call duration was not 16 seconds. It was 48 seconds. The discrepancy came from a partial recording error on the first playback. When the full audio file was extracted directly from dispatch servers, the missing 32 seconds were recovered. Playback begins the same. 911, what's your emergency? Heavy breathing. Someone's in my house. But the extended version reveals more. At 0:11, a sound appears in the background, faint, measured, footsteps, not pacing, not running, walking, slow, even, deliberate. At 0:19, the caller's voice drops, not just quieter, lower, like he's trying not to be heard. He's still upstairs. Dispatch operator notes flag this moment. Caller began whispering. Our tone changed. Possible fear escalation. But there's something else. At 0:26, a second sound enters the recording. Not footsteps, not movement. Unidentified. Audio technicians attempted isolation, filtered frequencies, enhanced background channels. No match. The closest description logged, prolonged irregular distortion, resembling breathing but inconsistent with human pattern. At 0:34, the caller speaks again, but his voice doesn't sound the same. Pitch slightly altered. Cadence uneven. Hello? Dispatch responds immediately. Sir, stay on the line. At 0:41, a loud thud interrupts. At 0:48, the line disconnects. Operator's final note, caller's voice shifted mid-call, possible second-party involvement or stress-induced vocal change. But that explanation didn't hold during later review. Because when the audio was slowed, both versions of the voice overlapped. For less than a second, 2 tones, same sentence, stacked. B. Arrival of officers. Body cam footage begins at 2:19:06 a.m. Timestamp overlay confirms sequence. 2:19:12, officers approach front door. 2:19:18, knock and announce. No response. 2:19:31, door tested, locked. 2:19:44, forced entry initiated. Inside, no lights on. Flashlights reveal no movement, no displacement, no immediate threat. Reyes's voice low. Clear entry. Malik responds. Too quiet. They proceed. Kitchen, living room, hallway, nothing, but one detail stands out in footage analysis. At 2:20:11, Reyes pauses near the staircase, tilts his head slightly, as if listening. Later in his statement, he said, I thought I heard something stop moving right when we came in. No sound is captured clearly on bodycam at that moment, but both officers hesitate, just briefly, then continue. Official report notes. No forced entry, no interior damage, no lights active, front door locked from inside, and one line added later. One officer later stated, it felt like we were responding too late, even though we weren't. See initial sweep. The ground floor presented no anomalies, furniture aligned, surfaces clean, no overturned objects, no signs of struggle. But at 2:20:43, Malik's flashlight catches something near the kitchen island. A phone. On the floor. Screen dark. Reyes retrieves it, checks recent activity. Outgoing call to emergency services. Timestamp, 2:12:47 a.m. Malik frowns. Call came from upstairs, right? Reyes nods. That's what dispatch said. They both look at the staircase, then back at the phone. Positioned, not dropped randomly, placed, face down, near the center of the kitchen, not consistent with someone fleeing, or hiding, or collapsing. It looked deliberate. D. First inconsistency. The first external variable enters the case at 3:08 a.m., a neighbor. Statement recorded on scene. Male, lives 2 houses down. He reports being awake before the call. Time estimate, around 2:05 a.m. His account. I heard something like movement. Not loud, just something shifting. He initially ignored it, but then lights from the Hargrove residence. Flickered, he said. Not turning on, not turning off. Just flickering. Duration unclear. But he was certain of one thing. It happened before the 911 call. And timeline review confirms, if his estimate is accurate, movement inside the house began at least 7 minutes before the call was placed, which contradicts the caller's statement. Someone's in my house, as if the realization had just occurred. But if movement was already happening, then either he didn't notice it immediately, or it didn't start when he thought it did. And the flickering lights raise a second problem, because according to utility records, there were no power fluctuations in the area that night, no outages, no voltage drops, nothing. Which means, if the lights changed, they did so independently, inside that house, before the call, before the officers arrived, before anything was officially recorded. And then that leaves one question in the file. If something was already moving inside the house, before Daniel Hargrove realized it, then how long had it been there? The footage wasn't reviewed in full until later that morning. Initial reports were filed, statements taken, scene contained. Then the body cam footage was flagged for secondary analysis, standard procedure. But during that review, something surfaced. When investigators reviewed the footage, they noticed something officers missed in real time. The moment occurs at 2:21:03 a.m. Reyes is at the top of the stairs, Malik just behind him, flashlights angled forward. The hallway is visible, narrow, 3 doors, all closed. The camera shifts slightly as Reyes adjusts his grip, and for a single frame, something appears. At the far end of the hallway, near the third door. It's not clear, not defined, but it interrupts the shape of the wall. A darker section, vertical, too narrow to be furniture, too aligned to be shadow from the officers. It stands where nothing was previously documented, and then it's gone. Next frame, the hallway is empty again. No movement captured before it, no transition after, just presence, then absence. Investigators slowed the footage, frame by frame. No digital corruption detected, no compression artifacts, no rendering errors. Lighting remains consistent. Camera feed stable. The anomaly holds its position relative to the hallway depth, meaning it wasn't generated by motion blur or lens distortion. And yet, neither officer reacts. No pause, no hesitation, no shift in posture. They continue forward, as if nothing was there. Reyes reaches for the first door, opens it, and the sequence continues exactly as previously documented. No deviation, but the frame remains logged, time-stamped, verified, unexplained. Audio anomaly. The dispatch recording underwent a second enhancement pass, not for clarity, but for separation, layer isolation, frequency isolation. And during that process, another detail emerged. A second voice. Not the caller, not the operator. Detected at 022 in the call, just before the caller begins whispering. It's faint, but structured. Not random noise, not interference. Speech. The phrase is short, difficult to extract fully, but analysts agreed on one detail. It begins before the caller reacts, before his tone changes, before his breathing shifts, which creates a problem, because the sequence suggests the second voice spoke first, and the caller responded after, not the other way around. A transcript reconstruction attempt, unknown. Voice, don't. Caller, 0.5 seconds later. He's still upstairs. The timing doesn't align with fear response. There's no overlap of surprise, no interruption, just sequence, input, then reaction. Voice comparison was conducted. It did not match Daniel Hargrove. It did not match the dispatcher. It did not match either responding officer. No match in local or federal voice databases. No known source. And one more detail. The tone of the second voice, remained consistent, while the caller's voice shifted, meaning only one of them changed. The other stayed the same, from beginning to end. Investigators documented both anomalies under the same classification. Unresolved environmental interference. But internally, they were referred to as something else. A glitch. Not in equipment, not in recording, but in sequence. Because both pieces of evidence, the frame and the voice, share one detail. They occur before they should, before detection, before reaction, before awareness, as if whatever was inside that house didn't follow the same order of events. And the officers only ever saw it too late. The scene does not stabilize. It stretches, slows, details stop aligning. A. Upstairs discovery. Bodycam timestamp. 2:21:48 a.m. Reyes and Malik reach the second door on the hallway's left. It's partially open, not wide, just enough to suggest it wasn't fully closed. Reyes pauses, pushes it slowly. The door opens without resistance. Bedroom. Flashlights sweep across the interior. Bed. Neatly made. Pillows aligned. No signs of use. Nightstand. Empty. No phone charger. No personal clutter. Curtains. Drawn shut. And Malik steps inside first, checks corners. Reyes follows. Clear, Malik says. Reyes nods, turns his light toward the closet. Door closed. Standard wooden panel. No visible damage. Reyes approaches. Hand reaches toward the handle. He stops. Just briefly, then opens it. The closet interior is empty. No clothes, no storage, no hangers. Bare. Reyes frowns. Nothing. They both stand still for a moment, then exit the room. Door left open behind them. Later, during report review, Malik adds a detail. One he didn't mention on scene. The closet handle. I thought it moved. He clarifies. Not when he opened it. After. When we were leaving the room. Time reference unclear. Body cam footage does not show movement. But the angle does not fully capture the handle during exit. No confirmation. Only statement. A logged as unverified motion observed by officer. B timeline distortion. Digital records begin to conflict. Phone log. Outgoing call. 2:12:47 a.m. dispatch system. Call received. 2:13:31 a.m. difference. 44 seconds. With an acceptable delay range. But security system logs introduce a larger issue. The house alarm, previously inactive, registers as armed at 2:11:02 a.m. Full system lock, doors secured, sensors active, no manual override logged, no remote access recorded, which places the sequence as 2:11, alarm armed 2:12, phone initiates call 2:13, dispatch receives call. Reyes reviews this during follow-up. Why would he arm the system if he thought someone was already inside? No answer. Because arming the system would lock him in with whatever he believed was upstairs. And there's another problem. The alarm panel is located downstairs, near the kitchen, but the call was reported as originating from upstairs, which raises a question that remains unanswered in the file. Who armed it? C. Second officer. Statement. Malik's full statement is recorded at 4:12 a.m. He describes a moment during the initial sweep, not captured clearly on body cam. Position. Top of the stairs, just before entering the final room. He says, I heard something behind us. Not above, not ahead, behind. On the staircase. He turned immediately. Flashlight aimed down. Nothing there. Reyes is visible in frame ahead of him. No one passes between them. No shadow crosses the wall. No sound captured in audio. But Malik insists, it stopped when I turned. Duration. Less than a second. Logged as possible auditory misperception under stress. But the timing aligns with something else. At the same window where the body cam glitch occurs. D. The caller's whereabouts. Search of the residence continues. Full sweep. Repeated twice. All rooms cleared. Closets checked. Utility spaces inspected. No additional occupants found. No body. No trace of Daniel Hargrove. Despite confirmed identity from earlier documentation, there is no physical presence. No signs of removal. No blood. No drag marks. No disturbance of dust or debris. Windows, all locked from inside. No broken seals. No forced openings. Front door remains the only point of entry, and it was locked. From the inside, when officers arrived, back door deadbolted, no access, which creates a closed structure, a sealed environment where one individual made a call and then was no longer there. Not hidden, not removed, just absent. E. External CCTV, neighbor camera. At 6:40 a.m., footage is obtained from a nearby residence. Camera angle, partial view of Hargrove's front yard and door. Time window reviewed, 2 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Initial playback. No activity, no pedestrians, no vehicles, no motion detection triggers. Frame-by-frame review begins. At 2:13:09 a.m., a brief irregularity appears. Single frame. Front door appears slightly open, not wide, just enough to break the line of the frame. Then, next frame. Closed. No transition, no visible movement, no figure entering or exiting, no shadow crossing the threshold. Just open, then closed. Time gap between frames, 0.04 seconds. Too short for a standard open-close motion, too clean for compression error. Lighting remains consistent. Camera feed stable. Yet investigators mark it as frame anomaly, no confirmed physical change. But when aligned with dispatch timing, it lands between two key moments, before the call is fully received, after it is initiated, which places it exactly when the caller says, "Someone's in my house," and just before, the thud. No entry, no exit, no visible presence, but multiple records, audio, visual, digital, all begin to show the same pattern. Something appears without arriving, moves without being seen, and leaves without going anywhere. The return to the hallway happens after a full secondary sweep. Everything downstairs has already been cleared twice. No movement, no trace, no resolution. But investigators request one final re-entry into the upstairs corridor. The same hallway captured in the earlier anomaly frame. Bodycam resumes at 2:27:14 a.m. A same angle, same slow ascent, same narrow passage, but immediately, something feels off in the recording review. The hallway lighting, slightly dimmer, not malfunctioning, not flickering, just reduced, as if the space itself is holding less illumination than before. Final search of the house. Reyes leads. Malik follows closely. Flashlight steady. They stop at the top of the stairs. Exact position as earlier. Same framing seen in the glitch review. Reyes pauses. Camera stabilizes. Then, he tilts his head. A silent confirmation between both officers. They recognize this place. The hallway. 3 doors. End room. But now, something is different. The first door on the left, previously closed during initial sweep, is now slightly open. Not wide. Just enough to break symmetry. Malik notices immediately. That wasn't like that before. Reyes doesn't respond. He moves forward slowly. The camera captures subtle tension in movement. No rushing, no immediate breach. They approach the first door. Inside, bathroom. Same as before. No changes. Second door. Bedroom, still empty, still undisturbed. Then, they stop. The third door. End of hallway. Previously documented with scratch marks on handle. Previously opened once. Previously cleared. Now, it is fully closed again. Reyes frowns slightly. He looks at Malik. Neither speaks. Reyes reaches for the handle, turns it. The door opens. Inside, same empty room, bare floor, no furniture, no windows, no movement. But something subtle has changed. The air pressure. Reyes pauses in the doorway, then steps inside. Flashlight sweeps slowly, left to right. Nothing visible. But the camera lingers, just slightly, on the far corner, where shadow density is uneven. Not a shape, not defined enough to identify, just difference. Malik stays at the threshold, watching. Then, a sound from behind them. A soft shift in the hallway floorboards. Both officers turn slightly. Nothing there. They look back into the room, still empty. Reyes exhales, begins to step out. Then, he stops. Camera angle shifts downward slightly. Something in the floor catches his attention. Scratch marks. Fresh. Different from earlier documentation. More concentrated, forming a partial pattern. Not readable, not fully formed, but deliberate. Reyes lowers his flashlight. Then, the last recorded detail. At 2:28:03 a.m., Reyes turns toward the stairs and pauses. The camera shakes slightly, not violently, just enough to indicate sudden adjustment. Not as if the officer heard something. Audio begins to distort faintly. Then, a voice. Very low, very close, not fully clear, but structured. It appears to say, Reyes's name. A pause follows. No reaction is recorded from either officer in audio, but body cam shows Reyes stops moving completely. Still frame, still posture, still facing the staircase. Then, recording cuts. Abruptly. No fade, no continuation, just termination. The investigation file closes weeks later. No official explanation is recorded. No cause determined. Both officers reassigned shortly after the incident. Administrative transfer. No public statement. No press briefing. The case is quietly flagged. Inactive, unresolved circumstances. Body cam footage. Partially withheld. Sections redacted under internal review classification. Our dispatch file, marked incomplete transmission sequence. No supplemental evidence released, no further interviews conducted. The house at the end of the cul-de-sac remains listed, vacant, unremarkable, unchanged. Neighbors report no further disturbances, no further calls, no further activity. But one line remains in the final internal summary, written without attribution, no officer signature attached, no explanation given, just a note. The caller was never found. No suspect was identified. The second voice in the recording was never explained. Case status, still open, technically inactive, but unresolved. And the final archived comment appended to the file reads, and to this day, no one has been able to explain what caused the line to go dead or who was still inside the house after police arrived. If you made it this far, you're already in the kind of stories we cover here. Subscribe, because some cases don't stay closed and the next one might be worse than this.